What's up, everyone? Welcome to Tuesday Live. Today we're talking about fuzz, and let me turn that one off because it's really noisy. Talking about fuzz, talking about how to find the right fuzz pedal for you. I'm going to show you some of my favorite fuzzes today. I'm going to talk about why I like them and why I am such a fuzz. As someone in the chat earlier before the stream started called me the fuzz evangelist, and I have to shout out to my assistant Chris, who while we were waiting for the stream to go live made this. So there you go. I think it's a fitting description, fuzz evangelist. You know? Yeah. So yeah, welcome to this week's live stream. As always, we are running a discount code, so we've got two sales happening right now. First off is there's only 10 coupons available for 50% off of any of the courses, any of my video courses. If you use the code in the description or in the chat right now, there's only 10 of those, so jump on those. When they're gone, they're gone. And then for the rest of the week, we're running 35% off of the tone course with code, what is it, tone 35 at checkout, something like that. So all that's in the description box. It's also flying by in the chat. And so yeah, this is also Q&A. So if you guys have questions, you can @ me in the chat. You can do @RhettSchultz, highlights your question, or if you want, you can leave a top chat donation, and we will get to all of the top chats. Hellraiser X wants 100% off. Not going to happen. Okay, so let's talk about some fuzz pedals today. I wanted to do a stream on this because I was actually thinking about fuzz pedals and my favorite fuzz pedals and what makes my favorite fuzz pedal my favorite, because there's so many different types of fuzz out there. There's so many different circuits. Even in the ones we're going to look at today, there's tons of different sounds. And I see comments on my streams and on my videos, a lot of people saying, well, I don't like fuzz. I tried a fuzz. I bought this. I didn't like it. And I think that's a little sad, because I think the world of fuzz is wide enough and it spans enough, plenty of different sounds and tones, that I think there really is a fuzz pedal out there for everyone. And there's more to do. You can do more with fuzz than just crazy, you know, crazy riffs and all that kind of stuff, which you definitely can do, and we will get to that in a second. So we got our first top chat in here. Rich Monks, searching for good times, bad times solo tone, leaning towards Ramble Effects Twin Bender recommendations. See, so good times, bad times. Jimmy Page would have been using a Mark IV tone bender at that time, I believe. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong. So let's take a look at what I've got here on the board here, the live stream board of science. I've got my Mark I tone bender. This is the one that I bought from Macari's in London a few years ago. And this is a little bit different. This is, it's... Yeah, Mark II Professional, something like that. But so I'm actually not sure, Rich. I'm not sure what I would recommend for you there. But anyways, let's start on the right side of the board here. Now, when it comes to a new type of effect, say you are a beginner to intermediate player and you're looking to get into a new type of effect, something that is, you know, you don't have, let's say you've got a couple of the bases covered, you've got overdrive, you got boost, maybe you got a delay, and you're looking for something like your first fuzz pedal. There's a few different ways you could go about this. One is doing hours and hours of exhaustive research, watching videos, looking up your favorite pedals that your heroes played, and using that to go for something like a fuzz face or a tone bender or a big muff or some variation therein. The other option is to just buy something that's relatively affordable, relatively easy to get your hands on, and try it out and see if you like it. Buying used is a great way to do it. Jump on Reverb or Craigslist or whatever and start looking for different fuzz pedals. The first one we're going to look at today is the 3 Series Fuzz. Talked about this on my channel quite a bit. I think this is, especially for the money, I think these are right at under $100, brand new. This is one of the more versatile fuzzes, and I think a really good option for someone's first fuzz, or if you just you know you're not going to be maybe you want sort of a wide-ranging, really versatile fuzz pedal. I think the 3 Series fuzz is a really good option for that because of this bias control here. So check this out. I'm going to start it with bias all the way at the left. The fuzz, you know, whatever, like, what do you call that, like 11 o'clock, something like that. Now, to me, that's a really great rhythm tone. I would use that, if you dial the fuzz back a little bit more, I would use that as a rhythm part to back up a really cool bass line or a riff kind of fuzz sound. I think that's a really good sort of general purpose, general use fuzz sound. Cleans up well with your guitar's volume. So there's a lot of fuzz on tap there. And again, that's with that fuzz control dialed way back. Let's just push it and see where it ends up. It's not necessarily getting less distorted, it's really just compressing more, and it's giving you a little more sustain, and it's doing that thing that I really like sometimes with fuzzes, depending on the guitar and amp that I'm running, where the beginning of the note, the transient of the note sort of collapses as soon as you hit the note. It folds in on itself and then blooms open. You feel that it's kind of like, and then opening back up. That's a cool like lead sound right there. All that sustain coming out, all those harmonics coming through. Now I'm going to bring the fuzz control back a little bit and start to crank this bias control. And so what we're going to kind of look at today, the fuzzes sort of span this spectrum from relatively tame, straight ahead, saturated distortion tones, borderline overdrive tones. Some of them can get into that overdrive territory, like, for example, this Royal Jelly here from Beetronics. This is one of my favorite pedals ever. It's actually an overdrive and a fuzz. So we've got that side of the spectrum. And then we go all the way to the other side of the spectrum, which is really gnarly, kind of a character effect sort of sound, like the Canyon Climber here. I've talked about this one on my channel a lot, although it's been a while since I've covered this pedal. This is a super unique, funky sound. If you've not ever heard it, it's, well, stick around, we'll play it in a little bit. But it's a fuzz sound that's not for everybody. The thing I like about the 3 Series, though, and a couple other pedals, the other pedals that are actually on the board right now that we're going to go through, is this pedal in particular can kind of move across that spectrum. It can stay relatively tame and accessible for someone who's like just getting into fuzz, who's just, you know, maybe you're jumping the gap from your first overdrive pedal, your distortion pedal. You want a fuzz, but you don't want something that's too crazy. You don't want your amp to sound like it's going to explode, at least not yet. I think many of us will get there eventually. But what's cool is you can start there like we've been playing, and as you crank this bias control up, the weirder and weirder it starts to get. So this is with the bias at noon. So you hear it's starting to get a little bit more granular almost. It's starting to get rougher and harder. It's not as a smooth clipping kind of sound. Just some guy in the chop chat. Let's see here. What's up, man? You got to try the Animalizer by Tone Electronics. It's a big muff style pedal with built-in EQ and multiple circuits. Nice. I will definitely check that out. I'm totally open to any and all fuzz pedal recommendations you have. I will. I'll play just about anything.
After all, you are the fuzz evangelist.
I am. If you are just joining us, Assistant Chris created this wonderful graphic while we were waiting on the live stream to start, and I think this might be my new online persona, my new character.
Your new username on all the message boards.
This is my new gamer tag on Xbox right here, the Fuzz Evangelist.
We got a couple good questions.
Okay.
So Fabio asks for your advice on fuzz placement on the board.
Okay.
I know it really doesn't matter on that board, but
yeah, on this board, it's kind of dealer's choice. But typically on a board, the general consensus is fuzz pedals generally go towards the beginning of your signal chain. And the reason for that is specifically with older style fuzzes like, this Tone Bender, for example, or older fuzz faces, things that had or have germanium transistors in them that are using germanium transistors to create the distortion and clipping. A lot of times those pedals don't like to see things in front of them like compressors, for example. You can get weird impedance issues happening. So general rule of thumb is put your fuzz pedals towards the beginning of your signal chain, towards the front of your board. Now, with more modern circuits and with some silicon-based fuzz circuits, that's not as big of a deal. There's a lot of modern ones that do play well with compressors and volume pedals or wahs, for example, in front of the pedal. But generally, I put it towards the beginning of the board. Not always, though. On my studio board, which is on the floor behind me here, I've got the Brown amplification T4, and that's like right in the middle of my signal chain. Before it, I've got a Univibe, I've got a compressor, I've got one or two overdrives, and then the fuzz, and it sounds great. So do some experimentation. That's the thing to keep in mind with all this stuff is there are no rules here. There's no right or wrong answer. There are guidelines. There are things that typically sound better than other things, but this is entirely subjective. If you like the way a germanium fuzz face sounds after a compressor, then who am I to tell you that you're wrong? Briggs in the chat says fuzz after reverb, fun times. Yeah, you can get creative and experiment with stuff. Put a fuzz after a delay, or if you have a pedal, for example, with an effects loop, like a delay pedal with an effects loop, put the fuzz in the effects loop and just use the fuzz to modulate the delay repeats.
We got another good one. James Barthel, he says he's into the Allman Brothers Band and he plays a lot of Southern rock. What's the best fuzz for him to use?
Ooh, okay. If you're playing a lot of Allman Brothers stuff and you're doing a lot of Southern rock stuff, the tones that come to mind for me are like Black Crowes, for example, Allman Brothers, as previously stated. So I would say, if you're thinking on that spectrum that we were just talking about from tame to wild, I'd stay closer to that tame setting. Actually, here on the board, there's two that I really like. I'd say this Boss, the FZ1W, would be a really cool option. So right now it's on the vintage mode. So this is a silicon-based fuzz circuit. It's a unique fuzz circuit that Boss created for this pedal. I did a whole video on it a few months ago. And this pedal does two things that I really, really like. One, with the fuzz all the way up and with your volume all the way up on the guitar, it's actually a pretty pleasant sounding distortion. But my favorite thing that this pedal does really well is if you back off the volume just a little bit. So I'm on 10 right now, and if I go straight to like 8 or 9, you get this really nice, sparkly, clean kind of edge of breakup sound, which is... then you can roll into the full-on sustain and compression. Which I really dig. And then something like a fuzz face. This one, the jam pedal fuzz phrase here, which we're going to play in just a minute. This is one of my all-time favorite fuzz pedals ever. This is one of their custom shop versions, so it's got the fancy like thing on the back. So you can see all the parts and the guts inside the pedal. But they do a regular, non-fancy version. Fuzz phrase from Jam. This one's linked in the description, right? We put this one in the description?
Yeah.
Most of the pedals we're talking about are linked in the description. Some of them are affiliate links. Some of them aren't. Like the Fuzz phrase is not an affiliate link. But yeah. Also, if you're just joining us, we've got 2 sales happening right now. We've got a handful of 50% off coupons left for 50% off any of my video courses, rhetschulguitarcourses.com.
There's only 10 of those. And
Yeah, actually, we might only have a couple left now.
Yeah, when they're gone, they're gone.
When they're gone, they're gone. And then for the rest of the week, we are running 35% off of the tone course if you use the discount code in the description box down below.
Got some more good questions.
All right, take me there.
Matt Whitaker, he says, what's the difference between a fuzz or a super overdrive like the JHS Superbolt?
So I think it's in the circuit, and it's in the parts that are used to clip the signal. So traditionally, fuzz circuits like this tone bender here, this is tone bender Mark 1. So this is using germanium transistors in the circuit to clip the signal, to distort the signal. In an overdrive, now I'm not familiar exactly with the Superbolt and what they're using, if it's diodes or an op amp or whatever. They're using different components to clip the circuit, and also the EQ, and the circuits are just completely different. I'm not a pedal builder, okay? I'm not a pedal designer. I just play them. What's interesting though about this one, the Mythos AU79, Zach, a very good friend of mine, co-host in Dipped in Tone, which is coming back this week, by the way. We are filming the next episode of Dipped in Tone this week. This is a fuzz pedal, but it doesn't use silicon or germanium to clip the signal. He's using a diode like you would see in an overdrive to clip the signal. So that's what I mean. Like there's not necessarily hard and fast rules of what makes a fuzz versus an overdrive, because this is a fuzz pedal that's using parts that you would typically find in an overdrive, and it sounds really cool. So the other thing is style of clipping, okay? So soft clipping versus hard clipping. Typically with an overdrive, and again, this is a generalization, but with an overdrive pedal, or a pedal that's emulating the type of overdrive that you would see from a tube amp, which many overdrives are trying to do, the Superbolt being one of them. It's emulating an amps style overdrive, which is the style of clipping, the style of distortion you get from overdriving or clipping a vacuum tube, okay? So what happens there is what's called soft clipping. So if you picture a waveform, a sine wave, when a signal, the sine wave, starts to distort, it starts to clip. So the peaks of those waves start to get cut off. In soft clipping, the peaks of the waves are cut off and compressed, but they are still rounded a little bit, versus hard clipping like you'd see in a fuzz pedal or some distortion pedals. It's a jagged, like a sharp square wave kind of cut off sort of sound. So that's a very quick, broad generalization, but yeah, hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, we got one more. Do you have a favorite fuzz tone on any song or album?
Okay.
The hard one.
Yes. If gun to my head, favorite fuzz sound,
Which happens all the time.
All the time. I'm out in public and somebody just runs up on me. It's like The Purge, you know, and they're like, "What's your favorite fuzz sound? You're gonna die." Tell me your favorite fuzz sound. The dog gets it. This, an octave fuzz. So this is the Jext Fox. This is a clone or a take on the Fox tone machine, which I'd love to have an original of. In fact, let's go ahead and throw this on the board here. I'm gonna pull the tone bender off for now, and we'll listen to the AxeFx. That is my, like, time and time again, I go to this pedal, and I love what it does. To me, it's very musical, and it's very inspiring to play, which is another thing I really like about fuzz pedals. What it does to your signal is such a drastic change, especially if you're used to playing mostly clean or edge of breakup like you are, Chris. The fuzz is so drastically changing your signal and your tone that it forces you to play differently. It completely changes your approach. So we're going into the AxeFx 3 here. This is a preset that I made off of Matchless DC30, which these will be available soon, by the way. All right, so here is the AxeFx. So that's cool. It's fizzy, it's weird, but my favorite thing is on the neck pickup, you roll the volume down and you get this crazy kind of ring mod thing happening. Because it can't quite track the intervals of the chord properly. And to me, that's just super musical. And then when you really lean into it, tons of sustain. So again, if we think of that spectrum, to me, this kind of airs closer to the crazy side of the spectrum, to the weird side. This isn't necessarily something I would recommend for someone's first fuzz. I would stay more in the JHS 3 series, the Boss FZ1, a straight ahead fuzz face. So in fact, let's throw the fuzz face on the board. We'll take the AU79 off. Got any other questions, Chris?
Yeah, earlier someone was asking, I can't remember who, but they were asking what these pedals would sound like on the Casino.
Oh, yeah, we can grab the Casino.
Right behind me.
Well, isn't that convenient? Okay. So here is Jam Pedals Fuzz Face. It's a fuzz face, and I will switch to, oh, geez. Hold on. Wait. There we go. Switch to the Casino as requested. Sonic Temple says, I'm not crazy for fuzzes like that. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a little bit more of a niche sound than what I'm about to play. But I think it works really well. For me, at least. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? There we go. It's officially winter here in Georgia. Finally, so this guitar desperately needs a setup. All right.
Apparently, Tilly's texting me. She says my mic sounds weird on the stream.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which I don't hear it in our headphones, but if it sounds weird, let us know in the chat.
I am not getting signal now for some reason. Well, that's weird. Why is that not? Oh no, do I have a bad cable somewhere? That's into that. That's into that. Something not powered? No. Oh, there we go. Air gap. That's what you call a high impedance air gap, everyone. So again, this kind of, the fuzz face kind of bridges that gap on that spectrum. This is a little closer to the tame side. This can bridge the gap between an overdrive pedal, a distortion pedal, and then a fuzz. So if you're fuzz curious, but you don't want something super weird and hard to tame and hard to play, something like a good fuzz face is a great place to start, and it can get you into like the... Now the thing about fuzzes is, fuzz faces, and Josh Scott talks about this, and I completely agree. You should just leave the gain knob all the way up on a fuzz face circuit. You should leave it there, and you should take the knob off the pedal, because any lower than that, and it doesn't sound bad, it just doesn't necessarily do the fuzz face thing. Like, that sounds cool, but it's not... To me, it's not that musical. It sounds like it's like dying a little bit.
It sounds like it's imitating itself almost. Like a bad imitation of itself.
Yeah, but then if you check this out, if I push it, it's like nothing happens, and then it gets to around here on the pot, and the pedal just opened. It wakes up. So if I go, it's like all of the sound, all of the tone is in the last 10%, the last like 10% of throw on the pot. If you like David Gilmour stuff, he was known for running a fuzz face, and then a super, super loud clean boost like the Time solo. I love that low octave thing where it just starts to fall apart. Yeah. That's a really good one to start with, I think.
Is there like a word for that when it starts to like kind of crackle and sort of glitch out almost like that?
No, I mean, not that I... To me, that's like getting your amp to sound like it's gonna explode kind of thing. But you can tame it a little bit with the volume knob on your guitar. And that's the other thing with fuzz pedals, and with any type of overdrive or boost. I mean, a lot of guitar players, we don't utilize these controls enough. And this is a perfect example. When you're using a fuzz, and you get that super like spitty Velcro kind of thing, and you want it to clean up, you can just back off the volume a little bit. So, and now, and I talked about this in the Boss video, but one of my favorite things is you can get really cool, really good clean tones by using a fuzz and then backing the guitar off to where you get this like a... So this fuzz phrase is doing it really well, just like the FZ1W does, where it gets sparkly and it actually gets brighter than the guitar on its own. So this is a relatively bright guitar into a bright sounding amp. That's with the volume all the way up on the guitar. Now with the fuzz, if I back it off, it's very... Now here's the deal. If you're playing in a band or you're playing on a record, you're recording a guitar part, that sound right there is going to help you cut through the mix. If you had a cool little line, like, let me see. See, now that sounds like you kicked on some kind of distortion or overdrive, but it's a fuzz face with the fuzz turned all the way up. The only thing we've changed is rolled off the guitar's volume a little bit.
We actually had a question earlier I was going to mention. Somebody was asking about if you had any tips on mixing fuzz, because there's so many like frequencies, it's so rich.
Yeah. That's a really good question. So it can be really tricky, especially fuzz sounds that are really dark and really, really heavy sounding. So like, let's see if I can dial up something on the FC1W that. So I'm going to roll the tone back. I'm going to bring the fuzz itself up quite a bit. So that sounds cool. Plenty of sustain. That'd be a nice lead tone. Sort of encroaching in the Eric Johnson kind of territory. I just can't play like Eric Johnson. But that sound, though, on its own, it's almost kind of like woman tone. It sounds good on its own, but in the context of a full band, if you've got keys or another guitarist or something like that happening, that's going to get you buried in the mix pretty quick. So what I would do, if you have some kind of tone control or EQ control on the fuzz, push that up, get a little bit more brightness and attack out of it. And that's shifted the mid-range character. So it's made it brighter, but it's also made the upper mid-range cut through a little bit more. It's a little bit more like honky now. Versus back here. And then again, you roll that volume off on your guitar and you get overdrive, kind of almost like the John Scofield A Go-Go kind of sound, which I believe was a Rat.
Yeah, it's a Rat through a Vox.
Yeah, which is one of the greatest sounding overdrive tones of any guitar player ever. That record is amazing. But like that, if you just heard that out of context, if I switch the neck pickup, roll the neck off a little bit. You would never guess there's a fuzz on. Never.
Yeah, if I was in Target and I just heard that.
Yeah, dude.
I was going about my day.
Yeah, you're buying your groceries for the week.
And you hear that from the next dial.
Yeah, that's what I do on the side. My side hustle is I get sync background music for Target where I just play dad blues riffs
You're just
all day.
busking in the frozen food aisle.
Yeah. Hey man, they don't call me the fuzz evangelist for nothing. You know what I mean? You know what
There's
I'm saying?
a lot of power in those words.
There's a lot of power in those words, man. Look out. Quick plug for the we got 2 sales going on. We might be out of
4 left.
Oh, we have 4 left. Okay, so there's 4 left. If you want 50% off of any of my video courses, that's the Nashville Number System, the Tone course, or Fretboard Fundamentals, you can use the code in the description box or in the chat. And then for the rest of the week, we are running 35% off of the Tone course. And the Tone course, I talk about this subject a lot, as well as a lot of other concepts that go into guitar tone. Talking about amps, the relationship between guitar and amps, talk about miking up speakers. How different speakers work with different amps. There's a lot in there. So, Podcast Age, what's up, man? You've bought all the gear you have. Why can't I play like you now? I'm not sure that you'd want to play like me, but I appreciate the kind words. Cool.
Fuzz stacking. We got some questions about fuzz stacking.
Ooh, fuzz stacking. All right. Go back to pedal board cam of science here. Let's see. Let's swap something else in to talk about fuzz stacking. I know
they want you to pull out the royal jelly too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, it's time. So, the royal jelly. This is to me one of the like. Oh, damn it. Okay, hold on. I want to swap this out. And I killed my fire. So let's do fuzz phrase into royal jelly. I'm sure this is making all the super type A people really happy seeing the utter mess. So this is a really cool pedal. This would be one that I would recommend for someone who you got a little coin to spend, and you want something super versatile. This pedal covers a lot of ground. So it's a dual stage pedal. It's got two sides. You got the king and the queen side here. Also, I just love their aesthetic, Beetronics aesthetic. These pedals are just absolutely gorgeous. And if you pay attention, sometimes you can get your hands on like a special edition one of these and like some special fancy colors that they do every now and then, which is super cool. So essentially what you have going on here, you've got the king side, you've got the queen side, and you can blend between, these are blend knobs, so you can blend between the fuzz on this side and an overdrive sound on this side or anywhere in between. You have a 2-band EQ, you've got high and you've got low, and then you've got this honey control, which is like a mid-range kind of boost, a mid-range sort of kick. So essentially you can have two different sounds happening, and then you can kick on the mid-range for a little bit extra kick. Then you also have a dry blend knob, which is super helpful. That's another great way to get around, you know, if you have a super dark fuzz tone or something that's really compressed and is getting buried, you can blend in a dry signal on a pedal that has a dry blend and help get some of that attack back a little bit. And then here we have the overall output volume. So we'll start with it on full fuzz on the queen side here. Here's my clean tone. In some ways, it's similar in tone to the FZ1W, the way I've got it set up right now. There's a little bit of dry coming through. We're boosting some low end and we're cutting some high end, but we can change that. Which is really, really nice. I'm gonna go full fuzz here, no dry sound. And just for reference, here's the overdrive sound. So nothing's changed. I've just switched the blend from the fuzz side to the overdrive side. And then there's 50-50 blend of the two. So again, this is another really good pedal for someone that's looking for their first fuzz if you've got a little bit of money to spend. These are not super inexpensive. They're not crazy unobtainium either. But now for the honey control. Yeah. So yeah, that's the royal jelly.
How does that one clean up when you roll the volume back?
Not like the FZ1W or the fuzz phrase. It stays relatively broken up if we switch back to queen side. Full fuzz. Roll the volume back. So it cleans up, but it doesn't do that sparkly, brilliant top end thing that the others do. But God, I love this pedal. I use this on, there's a song on Noah's new record called High Enough. And we tracked it live, and I played a solo on that song that was just a 335, the Royal Jelly, and my High Watt Custom 20. And it's some of the best sound tone I've ever gotten. So
Did you ever stack any of those, or?
Oh yeah, we're talking about stacking. Sorry,
That's kind of what we were.
yeah, I got lost. Okay, so the thing with fuzz stacking is it's really easy to get too much happening too quick, which is why I don't typically stack fuzzes. If I'm honest, I stack overdrives all the time, but fuzzes I usually have one fuzz on my board that's doing one thing, or I'll have another fuzz. If I've got two, they're doing two completely separate things, and very rarely am I blending the two of them. Otherwise, if I use, so the Royal Jelly where it was set, and then I kick on the 3 Series where it was set. Bring that bias control back down a little bit. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. Lots
of sustain, lots of compression. Like when you first hit a note, it doesn't sound bad. That's it's a lot for me. To me, this just one by itself is doing what I want it to do. And I'm not gaining anything by stacking it with another pedal. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing that says you shouldn't do that or you can't do that. It's just for me, what I'm looking for, I'm not getting out of it.
What if you stack them and then rolled the volume down? I'm just curious now.
All right, so. Yeah, not really.
It just goes back to regular fuzz.
Not even that. It just shifts the mid-range character around, and I don't like it. Not my thing.
I actually had a question.
Okay.
Like, are there any fuzz pedals you think that kind of get into that territory of like those old records where they just plug straight into a board and like crank a preamp?
Yeah. I mean, so
like there's like a lot of Beatles recordings and stuff that have that kind of sound on it.
Yeah, in fact, Jex Tellez for a while made the white pedal, which was not that exactly. It wasn't supposed to be like a console DI kind of thing, but it was a recreation, a pedal form of a Vox. I believe it was a Continental, which was like a solid state Vox amp that they were doing in the mid 60s. It's a really cool pedal. I don't have one. I'd like to have one, but they're relatively hard to come by. But like the JHS, the color box, that's designed to be a mic style preamp, like a Neve 1073 style preamp. And so it's got an actual transformer in it, a Lundahl transformer, and you can simulate those DI guitar sounds with something like that, more like a preamp style pedal. But it will get into fuzz territory. In fact, maybe It's
Okay,
up there.
get it out.
Yeah, see if you can grab it. And then I will throw on the Canyon Climber because this is another one that does super weird. So we're talking about that spectrum again, you know, getting into the weirder side of sounds, stuff that's not the most accessible for someone that's, you know, looking for just kind of a run-of-the-mill, you know, maybe a fuzz face or a big muff style circuit, something that's a little bit more unique. The Canyon Climber, I bought this pedal years and years ago because an artist I was playing with, Jessie Wilson, her record was produced by Pat Carney from the Black Keys, and Pat played most of the guitars on the record, and he used this pedal on the record. And it's such a unique sound that when it came time for us to play the record live, to be able to, you know, go out and tour the record, I had to have the actual pedal because there wasn't anything else that would do anything like it. So this is basically a clone. It's a signature pedal, Jonathan Wilson, really, really cool artist and producer. This is a clone of is it the Companion Fuzz? Japanese fuzz from the early 70s. I believe it's the Companion. And it is wild. Now, this is not for everybody, but I absolutely love this pedal. And I'll show you what it does. When it comes time to learning like how to play fuzz, you kind of change your approach to what you're playing and how you're playing, the chord voicings, the style of licks and ideas that you're playing. You shift that to whatever type of fuzz that you're playing. And this is a good example of that because this does not like chords. So the Canyon Climber works incredibly well with that like single note line kind of thing because it's adding so much distortion and so much harmonic content to the note that got that Jack White kind of thing going on, which is super cool. But again, that's not for everybody. And if you try and play a chord with it, like it has no idea what to do because it can't track those intervals. It's like you can do a fifth really well, like a power chord is really cool with it because it adds this sub octave thing to it. But anything other than a perfect fifth is this pedal's not gonna do. The other interesting thing is these controls, biofeedback in nature, they kind of don't do a lot. Like one of them is volume and one of them is fuzz. I've owned this pedal for almost 5 years or 3 years now, and I still don't remember which is which because they kind of just like. So this is the volume, the output volume, and the biofeedback. Just it's kind of just there, you know.
I kind of like when pedals do that. They give their like knobs weird names, but I also kind of don't like it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. And then this is a boost circuit because the original pedal, this was the hipster and vanity switch. So the hipster side is the original circuit. It's without any other thing. And what's interesting is it actually is really quiet. It cuts your signal, even with the volume all the way up. It cuts your signal pretty dramatically. Which can work well in a recording setting, but if you're using this pedal live, it sucks because you kick it on and your volume drops.
Yeah.
So what they did is he put a clean boost in after it, and so you actually get a pretty, it actually is usable in a live setting. but it's not, you know, not for everybody.
We actually had a top chat about the Canyon Climber. Ghoulie, he's asking if there's any pedals that are kind of like that he could get.
Ooh, that are kind of like the Canyon Climber. Well, like I said, it's a clone of the, I believe it's the companion Fuzz. Somebody in the chat can correct me. So I would do, off the top of my head, I don't know. But I would do a Google search for, you know, surely there's somebody on the gear page that has a whole thread about this somewhere on pedals like this. And the 3 Series can get sort of in that weird spitty kind of territory if you turn this bias control up. It gets really gated, like heavily gated.
Yeah, that sound is really cool to me.
Yeah.
That's super cool. It's like tiny and huge at the same time.
Yeah, it's weird. When you crank that bias control up, it really starts to get heavily gated and super spitty, all the way to the point where with the bias control all the way up, it's basically like almost unplayable. It sounds like your amp is dying.
Yeah, it sounds like something's wrong for sure.
But what's cool about it is it's just that one control. You bring it down, and then now it's back into relatively tame kind of. And then it cleans up. All for less than $100. That doesn't suck.
Yeah. We have one coupon code left for the 50% off.
So if one person wants 50% off of any of my video courses, there's one coupon code left. And the 35% off the tone course will be running for the rest of the week. Let's see, what else should we talk about here? What haven't we played? Let's see. Oh, you had a question about like the DI kind of sound. Let's put the color box in the loop here. Any questions while we are are people arguing about a rat? Is the rat a fuzz in the chat?
There's a little bit of that.
Nice. Okay. So this is the JHS color box, the V2. I owned a V1 before this, and this is a really, really cool pedal. So this is not by definition a fuzz, but it will do fuzzy things. This is a preamp style pedal. So this is a, you can use it as a mic preamp. You can send a vocal mic through it or a guitar mic through it. You can use it as a bass DI, as an acoustic guitar DI. These are things I've all used this pedal for. You can use it as an overdrive pedal, as an EQ pedal, as a fuzz pedal, as a tone shaping tool. You can put it at the end of your pedal board and use it as an always on, just kind of EQ tone shaper, adding some saturation going into the front of your amp or into a modeler or whatever you have. So essentially what we have here is the amplifier section. So we have a master volume, you have a preamp volume, and then you have a stepped gain control like you would see on a preamp, like a 1073 style preamp. Then we have a 3-band EQ, treble, middle, and bass, and then we have a shift control for each one of those EQ bands. So you can shift what part of the band you're actually either boosting or attenuating. So that's cool. And then we also have a high pass filter, which is super, super nice. So since we're talking about fuzziness, and Chris's question was about DI kind of sounds, what I'm going to do turn this on. I'm going to turn off my tuner. That might help. This is just kind of setting it up as like a middle of the road, adding a little bit of saturation here. So that's nice. It's adding just a little bit of saturation. It's very, very subtle. But if I start to crank the preamp volume and bring down the master volume and crank the stepped gain control all the way up, now we can get in. And then with the 3-band EQ, I can do things like pull the bass all the way out, boost some treble, boost some mids, and get this really weird kind of... Or I can go the other way. Let's pull the mids all the way out. Let's add a bunch of treble and bass in. High pass filter in. Pretty versatile little tool there.
You got to play Revolution though, man.
Oh,
you're holding a casino. you're playing through a preamp. We had a couple top chats.
Yeah, I got the top chats here. So Izzy Blues, thanks man, big fan. Any fuzz pedals you like to use as a treble booster, having the gain near or off at the 7 o'clock position? No, although you definitely could, but that's not typically how I use a fuzz. I like to use a fuzz to add a pretty fair amount of gain. You know, even so much as like the AU79, for example, when I'm using this is a little too tame for most of what I use this for. I'll tell you what we did use this for. So I took this to Germany and we used it on the record, on Tice's record. And this got used on bass a ton. Phil put this on his bass and I basically didn't get it back for the whole 2 weeks on the session. But typically for me, I like really heavy, really gnarly fuzz kind of sounds. Octave fuzzes, fuzz faces, big muffs, things that are unmistakably fuzzes. Or if I'm doing that like clean trick, it's more of a mixing thing. I'm doing in the context of recording a part for a song, and I want that like weird, funky, sparkly, high-end kind of thing. Then we got another one. Let's see. Litve, hope I'm saying that correctly. Caught you live. I challenge people to top this number. Happy New Year. 10,000. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, nice. Podcast age. Thanks, man. Just small thanks for all you do. Your videos are incredibly helpful and informative. I appreciate it, man. And so are yours. If anyone's not familiar with Podcast Age, the mic reviews that he does are, for someone like me, really, really satisfying to watch. But I love microphones. I don't talk about microphones much on my channel because it's most of the audience here are guitar nerds and guitar players. And only a small number of you seem to be interested in things like microphones and recording stuff, but I love it. I love talking about all that stuff. So, nice. All right. Anything else we haven't played yet we should touch on?
What about the other JHS pedal?
Oh, the Crimson.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's throw on some of the other pedals we haven't talked about yet, and we'll do that. I promise this episode's not sponsored by JHS, but I mean, it's starting to look that way, isn't it? Okay, so
It's a conspiracy.
it's a conspiracy, man. I'm just trying to pull a fast one on everybody. Let's see. Let's pull these off.
Oh, you should throw the Kangra on there.
Yeah, the Kangra is definitely about to go on. So the Kangra, I just got my hands on. This is the signature pedal of my friend Jared Scharf. If you watched any Saturday Night Live episode from like 2000, God, in 2006 to 2019, I think it was, or 2020, you heard and saw Jared playing guitar in the house band at SNL, which is super, super cool. And so this is the Kangra from Walrus Audio, and this is a really, really funky fuzz / filter kind of thing that I've been having a lot of fun with playing here. So, do the Vezzpa, and then what was the other one? Oh yeah, the Crimson. Am I running out of? Okay. I'm running out of patch cables here. But good news, Chris, I'm not. I've got patch cables for days. And just like that, everyone, we have a new...
Hey, the Fuzz Evangelist would never run out of patch cables.
Hey, let me tell you something. Right here. The Fuzz Evangelist, 2 things. Never run out of a patch cable and never uses solderless patch cables.
That's your message.
That's my message to the people, you know, trying to evangelize.
Got another top chat from Jason Lindholm.
Thanks, Jason.
He just ordered a Squier Classic Vibe Custom Esquire, and he can't wait to use it on his JHS 3 Series Fuzz.
Nice,
That's a
man.
good combination right there.
The Squier Classic Vibe series is very well known amongst the people as a series of guitars that really, I think, punch above their weight class. And if you have any doubt about that, just go watch Jack Pearson play. All right, so let's check out the Kangra first. Now this is, again, on that spectrum that we keep talking about, from tame to wild, this is definitely closer to the wild end of the spectrum. And I haven't begun to figure out all the things that this pedal is capable of. I mean, it's just...
It's like Parliament Funkadelic territory.
Yeah, it's Now this would be a really cool pedal to have during a session where you're starting to layer guitar parts, or you're starting to double guitar parts on top of bass lines. Having this frequency sweep thing and then the envelope. What were you doing the other day? Yeah, this thing is...
Wow.
But you can turn the filter off and just have the fuzz. So if you don't want the weird envelope kind of mid-focus filter thing, you can do... which is super cool. I keep seeing questions about the pedal that I'm stepping on. This is just a mute pedal for my mic, so that you guys don't get... So if I'm talking and playing at the same time, my shotgun mic will... pick up my guitar, so I mute my... Dude, this is a little riff machine right here.
Where you just played there, it sounded like a cartoon theme song or something, like a 60s, like, yeah.
But you can turn that frequency down and get less nasally and more like a... I think it's cool.
That's
man.
A crazy pedal.
It's so fun, so much fun. And then you could, if you wanted to get really out there, pair that with a wild reverb after that, and just do some. Let me see if I can. I'm curious right now.
Oh wait, you don't have any more patch cables. Are you out of patch cables?
Bro, I might be out of patch cables.
Because we can get that spring reverb out.
I got this plate reverb here on the AxeFx. So let's see. Let's bring this up to a 25-second reverb. And then we're going to bring the mix up. And then we're going to turn this on.
That's like spaghetti western and Blade Runner, like mixed, just like 50-50.
Dude, that's what I mean though. It's like you get creative with this stuff. So, that's why I keep saying I think there really is a fuzz pedal out there for everyone, because yes, on its own, you might not think that a sound like that is cool, right? And you would say, "Oh, I'd never use that." Okay, but what else can you do with it? Get creative. That's why I mean there's no rules with this stuff. You can throw a massive reverb behind it. You could throw an EQ behind it. You could throw another envelope filter in front of it or behind it and get weird. Like, just experiment. This is just another tool. All these things are just tools. They're just tools for creativity. And as you start to get into it, it's actually funny. I was listening to, or I was watching an Adam Savage video on this right before we came on live. And, it's a tested video, and he was talking about tools and like measurements and stuff. But he had a really nice piece in there about guitar and learning guitar. And it's like every time you take a step forward in your knowledge of something, it opens your eyes and kind of expands your horizons as to what you know and what you can do. And I kind of look at effects and tones and sounds this way. So, if you're just starting out with something like fuzz and you don't know what to do, you don't necessarily know what to get something simple and get something relatively cheap and something that will cover a wide range. Everything we've looked at today, if you're looking for a good first fuzz, I would honestly put you towards the 3 Series fuzz or the FZ1W from Boss. Both of those are really, really great options. And then from there, start to explore. Do you want more of like the classic sounds a la Hendrix and, Robin Trower and Rolling Stones and Zeppelin? Then look at fuzz faces, look at tone benders. Do you want more of the 90s kind of sounds? Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan's kind of sounds, Jack White kind of sounds. Start looking at big muffs, things like that. As you start to learn and get deeper into this stuff, your horizons expand, and then you'll eventually, probably like I did, get into more of the weirder out there kind of sounds and start to combine them and do weird things with them. Jan De Jong in the top chat, thank you, man. Thanks, Rhett. And plus 10 for a Fuzz Evangelist t-shirt. I think we should put that on a shirt.
Well, I can get working on that.
Okay, great.
I mean, that's a good that's a good t-shirt, actually.
Oh
I think.
My God.
Maybe not that exact image.
But I mean, the image is a little. I don't know. Maybe we just say. Hell with it.
I could make like a line like etching version where how it looks like those like medieval etchings.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty sick. Yeah, nice. That's Chris, everyone, the man behind the wonderful Fuzz Evangelist graphic there. Oh man. All right, let's see here. Oh, we haven't played, let's play these last two pedals here. So, middle of the board, we've got the Vezzpa. This is another really cool octave fuzz from Beetronics. Really gated kind of sound. Yeah, this pedal's wild. It's got a couple of cool features. So the switch is not just like an on and off switch. I mean, it definitely does that. But you can switch between the non-octave up, which is what this is. And if you hold it down, it'll switch temporarily to the octave. Which is much easier if you have your foot on it. Or if you double tap it, it switches to the octave mode. Yeah, that's a super cool pedal. Let's see, any other questions here before we wrap this up? Andrew in the top chat, that image on a shirt isn't as goofy as the Noah Bandbird shirts, which you bought for your wife. That's awesome. I forgot about those shirts, actually. Let's see here. All right, cool. Let's finish up by taking a look at the Crimson 1992 Russian Big Muff. Now this one cleans up, but in an interesting way. It gets way less aggressive, but it doesn't necessarily get super clean. So yeah, this is tons of distortion, tons of gain. Lots of low end, gives you that super beefy, kind of almost sub-octave thing going on. Yeah.
Wow, I'm honestly really surprised how like different all of these sound.
Yep.
All of them are so different from each other, and I never like if you would ask me before this stream if I thought it was going to be that like night and day, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about the fuzz stuff is, you know, people can tend to pigeonhole this effect as just one thing, or they think it's just, you know, what I just played, which is tons of saturation, tons of gain, and then you think, well, that's not really my sound, that's not what I do. But the reality is there's so much more behind, you know, the world of fuzz pedals. And fuzzes have been used basically since almost the birth of rock and roll. Distortion and fuzz. You know, you think about the Maestro FZ1 and Satisfaction and everything that happened since then. Like it's an integral effect to a lot of the greatest guitar sounds and songs that have ever been put to tape. And you're right, there's so much variety to be had under this moniker of these different types of effects that I really do think that there's a fuzz pedal out there for everyone. It just takes some experimentation and some learning, trying stuff, seeing what you like, what you don't like, and learning how to play to the effects, learning how to play. You do have to shift what you're playing, like with this, this Crimson here, this big muff style. Like you can't play big luscious chords with this because it just doesn't handle it. Like, I mean, it's not that you can't do it, it's to me not very appealing. But a sound like this works incredibly well for perfect fifths and major third kind of sounds. Like that interval sounds really, really cool to me, or like a that sounds like a So it changes how you approach it. You play more riffs. You play more single note lines, more pentatonic lines, things like that. And I think you can find a lot of inspiration in that. I do. I find a lot of musicality in all these pedals and all these sounds. They inspire me to to write new parts and to play certain solos and certain licks that I wouldn't play without these sounds. And the cool thing is it's different than an overdrive. A lot of the overdrive sounds, depending on what kind of amp you have, you can kind of cover some of those sounds with the amp and a simple boost pedal. But a fuzz, you can't. It's really difficult to get an amp to sound like the Crimson. It's impossible to get an amp by itself to sound like the Vezzpa or the Kangra. These are boxes that you need if you want those kind of sounds. So yeah. Any other questions here? One more plug for, I believe we're out of the 50% coupons. But for the rest of the week, we are running 35% off of the Tone course. So if you want 35% off of that, you can use the code TONE35 at checkout via the links in the description box down below and or here in the chat. And I think that's going to do it. Appreciate everyone hanging out. And we're going to cover some more topics like this on the Tuesday live streams in the coming weeks here. So if you're not subscribed already, you should be. We're going to be doing these every Tuesday for the foreseeable future. So appreciate everyone hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys later this week for a regularly scheduled video. So appreciate y'all. And I will... Oh no, here we go. I will catch y'all next week.